Are you a fan of Brandon Sanderson? Because I am, and today I bring you a reading challenge consisted in 5 books that are usually mentioned to be perfect to read after Stormlight Archive, Mistborn, you name it. Let's see if those are worth the hype. What we'll do now is go to each of those books and see if 1, they resemble, in fact, any book of Brandon Sanderson, 2, if it has kind of like his vibe, his epicness, his narration style, and 3, did I enjoy it? See you in a bit. The Shadow of What Was Lost. So many emotions with this. First, does it resemble any Brandon Sanderson book?
I guess it reminded me a little bit to Mistborn, like not really, but it has this kind of like one facing and discovering powers.
However, it is a book that it might be written by Brandon Sanderson. The epicness, the narration, the magic system, everything seemed very Sanderson. If I were to say something about this book, it's that a lot happens. There's one moment in which I wasn't sure anymore what was happening. The names were a little bit similar, and the world building took a little bit to me to make sense. We have this world where the Augurus, which were kind of like godlike beings that were able to see and predict the future, were overthrown because it seems that one day their predictions started to fail and the people rebelled against them. From that point onwards, as their magic was really powerful, everyone that has a little bit of magic has been kind of like chained to the society. And so these people that have a little bit of magic, it's what it's called a gifted. There's this school for the gifted and there's this test. If you pass it, well, nice, you are now a gifted. But if you don't, you will kind of like lose all your power because something it's done to you. And one of the main points of view, it's having a little bit of trouble with this magic. He hasn't been able to control it or to perform it, so he believes that he is gonna fail. However, he also kind of like has a little bit of weird power. He kind of like sees things and something happens really early on and that puts him on the flee and starting this quest of going through all the place and trying to set things right, and the story kind of like unfolds from there. It's chunky. It's a trilogy, and I think it's a little bit more towards the plot-driven side of things. I mean, yes, we do know about the main characters, but it's not that I know them. I mean, I've just read it, and I'm like not forgetting the characters, but I am not sure about them. At least not all of them. Like you pass the first chunk, and you're like, okay, I understand how things are going, but then you end second path, and I'm like, did I? And then when you end the book, you're like, So hopefully this gets cleared up in the following installments. You can tell slightly that it's not from Brandon because you have that maybe confusion that I don't believe it's characteristic from Brandon Sanderson. But the rest, it was really fitting and it really kind of like scratched that itch that I had. Oh my god, I need something as epic as a book of Brandon. 4 stars. Hi, The Black Prism. This is honestly one of the best books that I've read so far this year. I had such low expectations, which always help. The magic system was compelling, the world building was easy, it was plot driven, but at the same time it was very character driven, and I really enjoyed it. First, is it similar to any of other Brandon Sanderson books? Maybe. I think it might resemble a little bit Mistborn. We have this young character in a way, and he is also getting to know his powers, so I think that is part of it. And we also have very, very grey main protagonist, which resonates a little bit with the Final Empire. A second, does it resemble Brandon? His epicness, his narration style, it does, it really does. It has a lighter tone, but it's something that really resembles his style. In terms of epicness, we do see how the story will get massive, and how, you know, stakes are high, and how the magic is important, and how things that unfold have a great impact. So that's a check. Did I enjoy this book? Yes, I did. I really liked it. I think initially it was a 5 stars. I think now I'm leaning towards more a little bit of a 4.5. Like, it wasn't an all-time favorite, but I really enjoyed it. It talks about this world where magic is based on colors, and so we have these different people that can see the colors and that they can do something with them, right? And if you are a red, for example, you are able to do some stuff different from the blue ones, and if you use your power a lot, it will eventually consume you, and eventually you will be needed to be put down. And so it's always this trade of these consequences, which I really loved. And usually people can manage, let's say, one color, but we have the Black Prism, our main character, who is this ruler of this land, and usually this position of Black Prism rotates. Maximum tends to have it like 7 years, because if you have it more than that, it's kind of like you have high chances of getting a little bit cuckoo. And so our main character is now reaching the 21 years. When he is absolutely certain that he is gonna die, suddenly one day he has a son, and things start to change because, of course, there's a lot of political intrigues. There are different paths that are interested in this, and, you know, like, he sets this path of meeting his son, and, you know, kind of like a war is also unfolding. His position, it's a little bit weak. This is a story that surprises in terms of the magic, of course, but also in terms of the main characters. They are gray. Usually I think that when a character is gray, it's because they do a lot of bad stuff, and, you know, you are kind of like,
well, all of them do bad stuff.
So let's say all of them are gray. In this case, I think that all of them do kind of like good and bad in equal parts. So I thought that was really well done, and I really enjoyed this. Let's see what I think about Kings of the Wyld. Kings of the Wyld, this medieval story that follows different characters throughout this quest that really reminded me to World of Warcraft. Is it similar to any of Brandon's books? No. Does it have this epicness or this narration that we can say, yeah, it might be Brandon? Not really. This book, it's way more sarcastic. It's funny, and I don't believe those are traits that Brandon Sanderson usually use. However, it does have some elements, some hints that we can see that are similar. For example, the relationship between the different characters and how each of these different characters respected each other. I do believe that it's similar. Did I like this book nonetheless? Yes. Had a tremendous time. So Kings of the Wyld starts with the premise that this group of people were kind of like the monster hunters. They were like the MVP. They were the game. But, you know, time has passed and they are now old. They have settled down. They have their own lives. And then one day, this former leader of the band comes seeking help for their main point of view that we will see, because his daughter has been embarked in this quest to kill monsters and she is trapped. And so they start this mission of reuniting the band again. These characters are really different. The former leader, who was kind of like a very charismatic, we have the main point of view, who is kind of like just working in this town, and, you know, he has a reasonable dream. He wants to manage an inn with his wife, and that's kind of it. Then we have another who is now ruling, and then we have a mage. We invest a fair amount of time understanding the different characters, how this recruitment happens, and then this quest. Along the way, they will be kind of like defeating monsters. This had two main things that I really liked. The first one, I really liked the sense of humor that it had. It wasn't incredible, like, it's not comedy, but it was hilarious for the epic story that I was reading. Then the second thing, it's the duality of the main character. So this main point of view that we are following, it's kind of like the second in command. But we see how this second in command, it's in reality kind of like the leader. What if we were to follow Sam instead of Frodo? Right, in Lord of the Rings. Also, the acknowledgements really made it for me. So he kind of says that he was this leader and that his brother is this second in command who is in reality the leader. And I thought that was beautiful. I've read this pretty fast. The world building, it's interesting because we have this medieval foresty world, but at the same time it's not super complex. There's soft magic, and although it's part of a series, it is a standalone. Like, the story, it's concluded, it's satisfying. I'm not sure if I will read book 2 because there are different characters completely, and I'm kind of like, no, I like this idea. 4.5 stars. Let's see about Temeraire. Temeraire by Naomi Novik. This is such a weird book in the best way possible. It's a story that it's supposed to be like a reimagination of the Napoleonic Wars with dragons. And hear me out, because I know how does this sound.
I thought this was gonna be utterly boring.
But no. I was completely wrong. This was fun. This was light. Is it similar to any of the books of Brandon? I don't believe so. Does it have a similar epicness? I do not believe that. Temeraire, it's a great story. It's a lot like How to Train Your Dragon, and that it's fine, but it wasn't epic. At least I didn't feel this to be like utterly, massively, incredibly epic. But did I like it? Yes. I really enjoyed this book. So if you take Norrington from Pirates of the Caribbean, and we kick off the story with him taking this French ship, and there's a dragon egg inside. In this world, dragons are mainly used for war. There are different breeds of dragons, and they have like special thing. Whomever the dragon kind of like selects after hatching, that's kind of like the only person that then can train and tame this dragon. This dragon turns out to be one of the most intelligent dragons out there, and so as you can imagine, this puts our main character kind of like in a position of having a deep bond with it, and the relationship, it's just so fantastic. This reads almost as young adult, although it is adult fantasy. It cheered me up.
I was just kind of in a reading slump, and reading this, I was like, okay, faith restored.
And now let's go to Promise of Blood. So I just finished Promise of Blood.
Like, I've really liked it.
This story talks about this revolution that is happening, this coup, and we start the story with one of the 3 points of view that we will see, and this character just going into this palace and seeing that there's no guards there, there's no one, and you know that the nobility, it's dead. And then we meet the second point of view, this general who has just done this coup and it's about to kill the king. And so from that point onwards, like, the story just unravels, and it's the aftermath of this situation, which I thought it was fantastic. We will eventually meet the third point of view, which is of this son of this general that has done the coup. And this book overall, it's a story about intrigues, about politics, and it's kind of like a war that it's happening, and it really fascinated me. There are different threads or different layers within this story. We have kind of like the first character is an investigator, and he will be placed to discover the magic that is happening as prophecy that it's supposed to be. Then this general is kind of like managing the different sides that he has and trying to stop war from different sides. And then this son, it's the one that will be stopping the war, chasing sorcerers, because the magic, it's so interesting. I just loved it. It seems that there are kind of like 3 types of magic here. You can be super powerful and be kind of like a sorcerer, and in that sense you have like, with your hands, each of the fingers will have kind of like one element, so you can have fire, air, and then with the other hand you kind of like manage like the movement, right? So you can be like eyes. Then you have the powder mages, which are kind of like humans that by ingesting kind of like drugs, they can become superhumans, right? Like they can really be amazing in war. And then we have the lesser magic people who are the nacked ones, and we can have people that never needs to sleep or that can know when you're lying. Every step of the way was something that really deserved my attention. I really loved it. And then in terms of this analysis, it's a little bit similar maybe to Stormlight Archive, more the first one, like Way of Kings, when Dalinar and Sadeas were discussing. You can have that vibe. Then in terms of epicness, it's also that point. So for me, it was also similar. Like you can imagine this story being as epic or becoming as epic as one of Brandon's, because you have these gods, we have this splendid magic system, so I definitely see it there. And then the last point, which is, did I like it? Yes, like I really liked it. 4.5, almost 5 stars. It's not an all-time favorite because I think it's a book that it's a little bit of a setting. There was some stuff with some characters that I didn't really understood, and it was like, okay, well, fine. I mean, it's fine, but it's really high on my list, and I really ended up yesterday night, and I was like, like I couldn't sleep. Not because it left me thinking like, oh, this is like mind-blowing. It wasn't that, but because I thought it was really well done. I really liked the story overall, and I really wanted to continue. Like I'm doing now an exercise not to go right into book 2. So there you go. Alright, so let's recap a little bit here. We have 3 books that are similar. We have Shadow of What Was Lost, we have The Black Prism, and we have Promise of Blood. These are the 3 books that I believe are most similar to what we were seeking. Kings of the Wyld and Temeraire, great books, not as much if you are in this specific mood. And then out of those 3, I really believe that Promise of Blood, it's number 1. The Black Prism might be second, and a third place we will have The Shadow of What Was Lost. And that was it for today. I really hope you liked this reading challenge as much as I did. Let me know down below if it was helpful for you, if you will pick this up, if you have any other books that you believe are perfect. I publish bookish content every Tuesday and Friday for you to enjoy, so I hope to see you soon in other videos.